Hello folks, I am back with another firearms review, and I was at my range shooting this bad boy here. This is the Sauer 1911 Tac Ops in 10 millimeters. So I've been having a lot of fun with this. No issues, no malfunctions or anything of that nature, and it is very accurate. But while I was there, I happened to bump into this particular firearm. This is the Sauer P225-A1, and I remember seeing this firearm when 1776 or Bust did a review on this, and he did two videos on this firearm, and he really had a lot to say about it. So you should check out those two videos, and he was very honest in his review. But as far as my review is concerned, this was something that I decided to go with, and I'll explain why. Let's get over with the specs here. The specs are going to be, yes, this is a 9mm firearm, and I want to show clear, even though you've probably seen there was no magazine at the bottom, nothing here, and pardon it being dirty, because every time I shoot a firearm, I put it right on camera so you know it's not being a princess, so to speak. Yes, this is the Sauer P225-A1, and it's a 9mm. It comes with two 8-round magazines. Now, I get back to that in a moment, because you're probably going to frown on it being such low capacity, if you want to consider it that as a low capacity. The overall length is going to be 6.9 inches for this. Overall width is going to be 1.26 inches. The barrel length itself is going to be 3.6 inches with a weight of 30.5 ounces. As you see here, it has a G10 grip here. One thing about these G10 grips here, this is a two-piece G10 grip with this SIG logo on it. And the problem with a lot of firearms that have a G10 grip or some type of other plastic grip is in the back, there's like a seam that goes in the back. And a lot of times when people grip the firearm, they get pinched. Well, during my shooting, did not get pinched. And you can see the seam is very noticeable, and you don't even feel that, and you don't even get pinched by that. The barrel material is what they call, carbon steel right here. The finish on the frame finish actually is a hard coat anodized alloy frame. So underneath this grip here, there's an alloy frame, and this alloy frame is hard coat anodized for reliability, ruggedness, and so forth. The slide material has that nitron finish on here. And if you look on the slide here, you see this little indent there. Look, to me, it's more aesthetic than anything, but it's pretty unique looking where you see this right here. I don't know if that's part of being for the barrel lockup for proper ejection or so forth. I'm not sure on that, but aesthetically, it looks pretty interesting. And the slide material is steel itself. And other things about this is, like I said, it's a very, very decent firearm. You may notice here on the controls here, this is those of you who are familiar with SIGs, you know that they have that this lever here, the cocking lever, which is pretty much a staple for SIG, that is on the side and you could bring it down safely without hitting anything. This is the slide release or slide catch. If you notice on both of these parts right here and on the side where the takedown mechanism here, you notice that it is closer to the frame unlike the other Sauer firearms, like your 226s and 220s and so forth. But these are made very close to the frame. If you notice everything around here on the firearm, it seems like it's what they call like deburred or have that meld treatment. So it's definitely made for concealed carry. So there's no snagging points, or it reduces snagging points. A little bit of history about this firearm. It was originally made in, I believe, the mid-1970s. And it was the sidearm for the West German police as well as the Swiss Army sidearm, and it was known as the P6 at the time. It was reintroduced sometime around maybe 2015, and it was reintroduced as the P225-A1. And one of the other differences between the original and this, it had a two-piece carbon steel slide. So it was a two-piece carbon steel slide, where this is all one steel component right here. Other things on this is, if you notice, there's a high index point right here, where when you have your middle finger as it goes into grip, it's a high point there. So like if you fired a Glock, you might get that thing called the Glock knuckle. Well, most of the X series on the 6 Sauer line of striker firearms, they have that high cut, and it's definitely here, and you can see how it bevels in. You have some checkering up front here. I'm sorry, I don't know how many lines per inch, but I think the standard would be roughly about 25 lines per inch checkering. And this firearm was derived, this is considered the classic line. So most of this firearm was derived from the P220, which was actually a 45 ACP firearm. And eventually that spurred out the P226, which everybody knows is the Navy SEALs firearm, and also with this. So it does have its lineage from the P220. And this is kind of more of the compact. It's thinner. What is similar to this would be the P229, which is a double stack, about similar in size, and holds 15 rounds. And like I mentioned earlier, this holds 8 rounds. And that might be a bone of contention for some people, saying that this only holds 8 rounds. Now, I don't have a problem with that, because there's a reason why I picked this up. Not only because I'm a SIG fan, but when there is a neighboring state that I frequent that you're not allowed to carry more than 10 rounds in a magazine. So basically, it narrows your choices, so you can't have double stacks or anything like that that's more than 10 rounds. So we all know that the Glock has the 43X, the 43, and then there's the Glock 48 and so forth. But there are a lot of people that are still not comfortable with striker firearms, and I see this at the shop I work at, where people are not comfortable with, let's say, the striker firearm. So this would be a really good alternative, even though it's a little heavier than the polymer frame firearms, but it would be a good alternative if they are nervous about it. At least there is, even though there's no quote-unquote safety but internal safeties in this has a decocker, and that would give them something to see that this is a safe firearm. And of course, you know, the SIG quality with their firearms, that it's great for accuracy, safety, as well as its reputation, especially when I'm talking about the P200 series of classic line firearms. The other portion is it has a nice beveled Magwell here in this area. If you notice, with this. It does have like a plastic bottom on the magazine, and it inserts perfectly in. You don't have to smash your hand to do that to load the firearm itself. It takes down like any other Sig Sauer classic line. You just pull that back. You pull the takedown mechanism down, and you just take it off. I'm not going to break this fully. As you see, it is a bit dirty, a bit oily, because I wanted to lube this before I fired it. And as you see, if you look on the side here, the SIG has incorporated their flat recoil spring here, and that works out very well. It helps with the snappiness of the firearm as it's recoiling. So that's not too much of a bad deal with that. As you see here, the safety plunger, like I said, one of those internal safeties here inside, so you have a measure of safety. And also here's your internals here on the receiver here, and the mechanisms there. One thing to note is, if you look, the rails go from basically the rear of the firearm all the way up to the front. So some firearms you'll see the rail is only a little bit of a rail is here or on the other side. So you get that long rail for, let's say, for positive slide recoiling, as well as for positive accuracy. So that aids in that. It's not as snappy as people would think it would be. To me, it's not that snappy, as long as you have a good grip. And like I said, with the rails, I think that adds to that, in conjunction with the flat recoil springs. And it is a very accurate firearm for its size. I mean, the barrel length is only 3.6 inches. And for it to have that kind of accuracy at shooting at roughly 10 yards, that is very, very interesting to see that it's accuracy the way it is. And it's, like I said, it's not a rough firearm to deal with. It's something about SIG, when it recoils, it's nothing that no one can't handle. And I'm going to show you a few targets. As always, I do that. And let me get in position for that to show you. Now, this is feeling out the firearm itself. I like to really test out where I can point and where I can aim. And one of the things I had when I'm with double action pistols is I always fire it from double action. So as you see here, these shots went the wrong way. So you could tell that I shot from double action. Now, that's an error on my part. It's not that all double action firearms, you're going to throw that shot. You got to do something with the trigger, and I'll show you that in a minute. As you see, it's kind of dead. It's pretty accurate. What I was trying to figure out where my 6 o'clock hold was, or do I cover the target at point of aim? And as you see, my first shots here, they started right around here and was low, and then I pretty much got them even to where I want them to be. And this is my target where I think that I'm dead on. Like I said, this is anywhere between 7 and 10 yards. I got it to where I wanted to be and got the right sight picture that I want. So as you see, this is very accurate for what it is. This is a defensive pistol. So this is for one of those things where you want to be able to shoot accurately and have something to defend yourself. Like I was saying, with this firearm here, it's an excellent firearm. One of the things I did was I had to learn to line up the sights, like I mentioned earlier, on those targets. I had to learn to line them up to where I wanted it to be. And one of the things I had to get over is it's called the SIG. I call it the SIG curse for this line. A lot of times, if you have a 6 Sauer firearm, usually when this extends out very far, on the other ones like the 226s, which they're pretty much notorious for. People are so used to covering over the magazine release right here. And then on the last round shot, what will happen is the slide won't reciprocate back. It won't stay back. It will pretty much will just go forward, and you think you have pretty much you think you didn't reach your last round that to be fired. Excuse me. Also, I had to learn how to do a couple things when I first started shooting SIGs. One way to fire, you can do this, where you can hold up high and cross thumb. I tend to shoot all my SIGs like this with my thumb exaggerated up like this. And that's the way I prefer to shoot. For me, it works better than doing the cross thumb, because I lose a little bit of control under recoil. So I rather have it this way. But other than that, this firearm is a pretty decent firearm. Like I said, a lot of people are going to have issues with the capacity, but if you live in a state where you have capacity issues and you can only go as far as 10 rounds, this is a viable choice if you are not very keen on striker-fired firearms. And again, like I said, check out 1776 Robust's 2 videos on this, and he really goes into some detail, and check that out. Well, that's all I have, folks, and happy shooting. Stay safe. #2A.